Giuliani, thank you so much for joining us. And next to Giuliani is Christine. She works at Siasa Place. When I asked her what exactly Siasa Place do, she said they do political awareness, civic engagement, and mentorship, particularly for the youth and with regards to politics. And then on the other side, where you guys are far, we have Nanjera, who is a researcher, but really she's very multifaceted. She does quite a number of things, including looking at trends on the internet. So what you guys are tweeting out, what you're saying, what KOT is about, she's seeing it, and she's translating it elsewhere. And next to her is George Nderito. Nderito also told me his name is Ndech, but I was afraid I would shrub it, so I didn't say it. But Ndech is of Sarabi. He's a team leader, and he's also an activist. And finally, Willis Austin Chimano. We know all your names of Sauti Soul. But apart from being a musician, he's really very engaged in politics and what's happening globally, and he does use his social media spaces very actively to relay what he's thinking about. So let me open up this conversation with, I guess, Nigeria. Based on the trends that you're seeing online, where is the youth at right now in terms of our political thinking? Are we moving forward? Are we still looking back? Are we engaged in as much as we think we are?
Hi, you can hear me? The lights are off, but I'll be able to see you once I ask this. How many are on Twitter? Just show of hands, please. Okay. How many are on Facebook? All right, so you can see we have people who are present. What has been interesting to observe is voices are being heard, and I think that's very, very important, and that can never be taken away. The voice of people who are connected can never be ignored anymore. We see that showing in how even politicians will refer to the stuff that they talk about when they go to whatever conferences, how the news is also relayed now. They'll say there was a hashtag trending, they'll talk about it, and they'll amplify it. That's been absolutely important, and we've seen even situations where hashtags have been used as a call to action and small wins have been gained. And that's fascinating, but, unakumbuka alikuwa naambiwa lazima pull socks. I think the next thing now, Kwanza, especially as we're going towards the elections, is what more can we do with that? What more can we do towards organizing? Because we're talking, but can we organize more?
Talking, but can we organize? So before we even go to organization, you said that youth are taking up their spaces on social media.
Yep.
But I just want to counteract your question with, how many of us here are registered to vote? But why is it that we keep hearing this narrative, and maybe now I'll get to you, Christine, that young people are not only not registering, they're not turning up to vote. We're disenfranchising ourselves. Is this true?
So it is actually true to some extent because of the things that we are seeing on media. So it's really discouraging because there are young guys who believe that, why should I go and register as a voter so that my fingerprints are taken by IBC, then I'll be on the police. I don't know, there's a lot of lies out there. So people just don't want to put themselves out there because they believe they're being chunguzwad. That's the first thing. Number two, if our leaders, just how our leaders are behaving, right? So someone's like, why should I vote, really, if this is what I'm going to get at the end of the day? There's no difference. But what I can tell you as young people, my fellow youth, is just go out there and vote. Because a spoiled vote is not that one, the one that someone marked wrongly. It's one that was never cast. When you vote, first of all, you've exercised your power as enshrined in the Constitution. Sovereignty of the people. You are the people, we are the people. So the more we vote, the more, because today I might decide to vote for, let's say, Giuliani. Maybe you've also decided to vote for Giuliani and not for me because you believe I'm wrong. So at the end of the day, you find out the person that I chose is actually the majority, so the person who has won. So if the Constitution, and it actually has given us the right, in Article 55, it's about the youth, and Article 38 on political rights. We've been given these rights. If something is your right, you should own it, 100%. You should feel it, you should exercise it, but within the confines of the Constitution and the laws of the land.
But who are we going to vote for? There's no one out there that really fits the bill. And someone, George Nathan, said, bad officials are the ones elected by good citizens who do not vote. Chimano, do you agree with this?
Yes, I do believe that. What did you say it again? Bad officials are elected by?
Bad officials are the ones elected by good citizens who do not vote. So are we, in effect, shooting ourselves in the foot by sitting back and saying, hey, there's nothing out there for me?
Yeah, we really are, because I was going through that whole period as well, as many, like, just what many young people are going through that. You know what, what's the point of voting? Because the ballot has already been decided. Or in your head, you think it's already been decided, so why the hell would I vote? But honestly, looking at the world and looking at what is going on with the, with the rise of, the alt-right movements and generally politics around the world and politics here, I'm just fed up. I'm fed up, and I am seeing that so many young people are looking at it.
Why are you fed up?
I'm fed up because no one, or there's a general feeling that people are scared of talking, or they don't have that hope, or they don't feel like they have anything left to, to claim. It's all decided, and it's all been taken away from them.
Okay.
So, and I just feel it's my own personal conviction, much more to myself, to my future children, to my generation, that I need to speak up and I need to go to the ballot, because power, or rather change, comes from the grassroots. Because you live in a country where people think we need to change it from the top immediately. People go right to the top. People go to, the presidency. That's where...
Yeah, a situation where people are constantly thinking of the president as opposed to what's happening with the MCA, what's happening with the... Ndet, you're really frowning. Is it because you're sharing the frustration? And if so, what are you doing personally to make sure that your voice is actually being utilized for something? Because speaking here is one thing, but how do we move this conversation into real action?
So just to add on what you said, so according to the 2009 census, Kenya has a median age of 19 years. So we are the most. Between 2007 and 2017, there will be over 10 million young people who are eligible to vote. Yeah? So we have the power. We hold the key to elective politics in Kenya. But we can say, yeah, we are angry and stay back and do our politics on social media, Twitter. What we are good at. We are sofa set activists. But we can take that step of going out and registering as voters, because that's where we can make the real change. But not only at national level, but also we need to be part of parties, because that's where they decide who's going to be elected. Yeah, they start in their own primaries, so we can get the leaders that we want. So if we are more than half of this country, it means we can decide our future. Because what I always say is politicians right now are already living in their futures. Most of them, their fathers designed their future for them. They are the leaders right now. Who's going to do that for us? So it's time for us to take that bull by the horns and say, no, it's our future.
Okay, but Juliani, personally as a musician, how do you move this conversation forward? And knowing, let me give you another statistic that I read in a report today. On average, African leaders are 42 years older than the median age of their constituents. And although age does not determine an individual's capability to lead a younger population, it does show the generational divide that exists throughout African politics. So knowing this, how do we use your music, the arts, the research to get people to be in a country that we've always dreamed of?
First of all, I don't think young people don't vote. I think they vote. And before elections, we need to look at it critically, because before elections, most of us go to vote, or we find a way to be associated with the political guy, because for us it's economic. It's not about change, it's not about whatever, it's economic. So mi ukiniambia ati vote yangu itafanya ni get 500 bob, ama ni get familia yangu kuna t-shirt kila mtu, ama nitaget hiyo tenda ya kuprint hizo t-shirts. So we might not be voting, but for us, politics is economic. It's not all these things that we are trying to say right now. How we use our platform, we've been using it over the years, but the truth of the matter is that we have been always preaching. We're peace. We are not even talking about justice. Right now we are telling them to vote. Why should anybody bother to go and vote? What's the relationship between their vote and
Their bank balance.
and aspirations? You get? I don't see voting as a way of me getting to my aspirations. I mean, I'm talking about the normal Kenyan. I see tenders as a way for me to get to my aspirations. Sindio? So why we need to bridge that and tell them why they need actually to go and vote. The relationship between the vote and their aspirations, their future.
Okay, so Nigeria, how do we then bridge this divide? How does voting equals economic empowerment?
First of all, I think the biggest lie that we've been told is that voting is just an event. You know, it's that day showing up, getting the pink thing, putting it on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and going home. The problem we have with the breakdown currently is that all politics, as we talk about it, is elective politics, but everything is political. So we have to be, it's just a reality. The politics of school, the politics of work, it's all politics. But elective politics is so fundamentally flawed in how it's organized, and that's why tunambwa, show up your skumoja, and it doesn't make sense, and that's why it's not resonating. It's more about processes. I think Dutch just said, do we engage in political parties? Who here is a member of a political party? I'm not. He is. Who else? Two people. Because political parties maybe are not even speaking to our aspirations, to our dreams, to our ideas. And so the spaces that we should be organizing are fundamentally broken down. But there's hope yet because the conversations people are having online are starting to shape that and making that link. Now, I would hesitate to call it just armchair activism because we must remember where we've come from. Hii Kenya hata kufikiria vitu zingine ilikuwanga illegal. It was configured as illegal. And so we have to take whatever we have and not criticize it. And that's why I said it's important to take it to the next level. Do we organize new parties out of it? Do we organize new caucuses, spaces of thinking and doing towards making that count? What Giuliani said is the most practical truth we can ever face today. But the economic alone and the political, there's also the social. Because at the end of the day, ukishapata tenda zote and you crushed everyone else's head getting there, then what?
Kuna Range Rover na nikoboa. Si ndio?
Sasa utakuwa ushafika Range Rover hiyo ni story ya siku ingine.
so-
But you see, that's where we are. So fundamentally what we are and what is happening is in these spaces that we've occupied, we're trying to find other ways to engage beyond 5 years of showing up, voting for 6 people you don't even know, you have not had time to engage with. Where do you meet those 6 people in the 5 years that they represent you? So that's what we're trying to shape up. And I think social media, for all its flaws, it's not enough, but it's a start. Because I have seen governors, I have seen MCAs, I have seen people answering to their constituencies there. It's not enough, but it's something. So let's not downplay it as
It's
well.
not enough, but it's something. Christine, you had something to add to what you were saying.
I hope so.
Iko sawa.
Okay. First, I'd like to go back to, just try. Go back to what is politics in itself? What is siasa? Siasa is exercise of power, right? Power which we've been given by the Constitution. Today we are where we are at as a country, as a people, and even you as an individual because of the decisions you've made consciously and unconsciously, isn't it? So if we decide today, like now we have devolution. Well, we have just seen how it has been going the past, how many years now? 4? Is it 4 complete? And to some extent, it's been disastrous in my opinion. But with devolution itself is good. Why? Because it brings also on board public participation. So for us, if we want to know how monies are being spent in Nairobi County, can you exercise your power and go for those meetings and say, by the even I want this budget to be 1, 2, 3. Then when it's not done, when this person does not do what the people say, then you have a voice. You have something to go and say, you know what, we said we wanted this, but you did not do it. So why did you not do it? So we hold these leaders into account because we chose you to go and represent us. Why are you not doing it?
I just want to use a practical example with Chimano because, you said you were fed up and Christine is saying use the tools at your disposal to vocalize your issues. So have you ever been to any of these civic meetings?
No, I haven't.
Why not?
Because honestly, I will
So
say
honest.
Well, yeah, I'm going to lie and then what? So, no, honestly, I haven't. And as I said, it's just something that has slowly grown in me. And I have felt a conviction that I really do need to start focusing on the issues that count, on the issues that matter in terms of growing my country, growing my people, and being what would be, people would look up and look up on me and see someone they can trust and see someone who is able to speak up for them if that is possible. So that is my own personal conviction as of now.
Okay,
Yeah.
but what Nigeria is saying that the use of social media is excellent, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
So, writing a few updates to
Yeah.
people who follow you, who probably think the same as you, is not really going to make much of a difference. So I'm looking for very tangible things that we can begin doing today and be accountable for. Let me just start with Ndetch.
So some months ago, Giuliani and I and about 40 crazy Kenyans, we decided to walk
Yeah, I
from
saw that.
Kisumu to Nairobi. It's about 350 kilometers. And that was an awakening for me because in every county that we stepped on, we met young people, very angry young people who feel that they've been neglected. They're never called when development conversations are taking place. And that's what the anger is talking about. Maybe we are not in these spaces. A good friend of mine once told me, if you're not on that table, when people are discussing, you're the meal. Yeah? I don't want to be the meal. I want to be in these spaces. And we kept on telling young people, chief barazas, the nyumba kumis, whatever, we need to get involved in them because that's where people take decisions. So it's also for us to try and challenge ourselves that look out, go. There are already organized things within our communities. Be part of them. Si Zaudu, si Ufala, si ndio. Ati Chief Baraza, no, just go there, be in that space. Even in our local religious spaces, they have organized group. We need to be part of these spaces. I think that might be a starting point also to youth engaging themselves into political discussions.
All right, Giuliani, I want to come to you, and I just want, because, you know, I've had this idea of getting people together, getting them to talk about the issues that are relevant or pertinent to them. But we're not a monolith as well as the youth. We think differently, we have different experiences. What happens to those who are in the system and are extremely poor? What happens to those who don't have education or have poor education? Surely the level of conversation can't be like this. So how do we bridge that gap between the different sectors in the youth?
I think the most important thing out of the conversation is for us, and let me use this example, Ambassador Cole, example of Trump. The truth of the matter is that all of us, when I was looking at my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed, the only thing I was seeing, I wasn't even seeing anything good about Hillary. I was just seeing everything that is bad about Trump. And then, siku moja naamka nini, napata Trump ameshinda. So I'm like, Trump won? I thought he wasn't supposed to be winning because of all these bad things that have been in. So a friend of mine told me that the problem that we were doing is that we were speaking to ourselves. So you follow people that you like, people that agree with you or thought. So you never follow people that wanaufala, that you consider wanaufala. So I think for us, when it comes to even this space right now, I think the most important thing out of all these things that we're trying to do is to listen. Simple. So if right now, all of us, when I sit down with that, we always agree. I'm sure when I sit down with Jamal, we'll agree. Mrembo, of course, unajua. But
Haters.
if we go outside of our comfort zone and listen, and how we're going to even do this in show power for me, how my conviction is, instead of telling people to go and start voting, understand why they're not voting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understand why they think they don't need to be in the chief barazas. So what I'm trying to say is that we just need to first listen before we even say anything about why they should go and vote, why they should go and do all these things. We just need to listen. I might not agree with Octopizzo, but I'm sure I always listen. Because he is Octopizzo, he's somewhere he is because Ako plays Yuko because he did one or two things that are right. So let's listen to each other first and then proceed now to talk about Nisho Power and how it will help us, how the vote will help us.
All right, Christine, I'm going to come to you because you're doing a lot of advocacy and civic engagement. In one of our previous episodes, which you'll be able to watch on our website, I asked people if they knew about the previous manifestos from 2013. How many of you can tell me one thing that was said in any manifesto about the youth? Even in the audience, you're welcome to answer this question. How many of you know a single thing that was promised by anyone who was vying for presidency or any other elective position about the youth, except Nigeria, who is a researcher? It's her job to know.
Sorry.
Yeah? So, Christine, how do you begin a conversation when we are not interested in what is being said on the other side?
When it comes to political party manifestos, to be honest, if you're not there as a young person, for real, I mean, hakuna kitu happen, to be honest. That's why she spoke about political parties. I'm a member of a political party. I'll be a member of my party 10 years, come 2017. But I didn't choose to join, I just found myself there. And I thank God I found myself there because I discovered politics in itself is not bad. It's good, but people just highlight the bad things to keep the good people away, you know? So politics brought us even the exercise of power, very progressive constitution. But as a young person, we need to join these spaces, Vanna. You need to go there and show who you are. You know, as in, if you respect yourself, those guys are going to respect you. You're going to be part of that strategic team that puts together the manifestos. Then you can say, us young guys, by the way, msituambie mnapatia job. We want 1, 2, 3 things to be done. We want 1, 2, 3 things to be done. Then, in that manifesto, you'll have a section for youth, you'll have a section for women, only if you're present. Then, God willing, if that party takes the power for the day, then you know for sure your things are going to be implemented. So we need to be there. You need to be present.
How do we keep our leaders accountable when we don't even know what it is that they've promised, what it is that they're meant to be providing?
I mean, it's why, I mean, unfortunately, we can't cover everything in 30 minutes, but Juliani hit it right on the mark. When we don't know who we are or how we engage with each other and find common ground regardless of our differences, it becomes that much more difficult. That said, there's devolution, absolutely. I was talking to Mandela earlier and asking him what would happen if across the city right now, let's just say Nairobi, people demanded audience with their MCA once every quarter. Let's even just keep it that way. Once every quarter. You guys can start on a WhatsApp group and say, historia takataka, baze, historia sewage, whatever, and you present all of that to your MCA because it's your first point of representation. What would happen, right? I love WhatsApp because imekuwa kamemea siku hizi bana. You know, as received. But what happens if you organized 5 of you in your hood and then say another 5 in the next hood, let's do it. Tupeleke alafu physical. That's why we have never lived in a time where it's that easier. The tools are available to make this happen, but the thinking and the rewiring, the new ways of thinking have not yet caught up.
Okay, but we're also saying that we have to be responsible because we
Yeah,
must know what is
but before we do that, and I think, again, Giuliani has named it, the problem here is it's a system that we were born into being told we're the future. The time has come, we're still waiting to be the future, the present, or whatever, and all those are realities we cannot remove from the fact that people then don't see the point of holding someone accountable. Voting has been an exercise of, enda no sort for 5 years. Ukikosa kusort, kura tunachukua, tunapatia mtu mwingine. That's what we need to start figuring out. How do we make it work for us? I love what's happening on your social media platforms. Again, not representative, but we've seen things like roundabouts being, later being taken away. Folks in Isili said, kama mtachukua takataka, hatutalipa tax, and that happened. So it's possible. The tools at our disposal, how do you take the power back? And that's how you start taking to show power is to say, this is how we organize in this space. For some, it's digital. For some, it's a physical baraza, but you're coming to us and you're engaging with us.
Okay.
That mentality, once we get it, the tools are neither here nor there.
So, Chimano, the ambassador referred to you and, Giuliani and some of the artists here as some of the brightest stars in this country. You're obviously placed on a pedestal. Your voice is influential. You have access to these people. What is your significant role? What can you do? What are you doing to ensure that some of the things that we're talking about become reality?
Me, Sauti Soul, or me and my boys, generally what we feel, in our opinion, and what we are doing, we feel we really do need to kind of like, I don't want to call it like kidnap a whole generation. It has, in terms of our system of education, what do we teach or how do we teach our kids in school? What values do we instill in them? What subjects do we introduce to make them understand what it is to be patriotic, what it is to be a Kenyan? How do we instill that from in them when they're young? Yeah. And for us, it begins with changing the system of education. We feel we really do need to change the system of education, and it needs to tell our kids that we're Kenyan, we're patriotic, and we have differences. We need to introduce a subject called corruption. We need to teach children about each other's tribes and the differences within each other's tribes.
As well as the similarities.
And the similarities, of course, and what makes us stronger. So that generally we feel is our contribution or my contribution to making the country better.
Okay,
and
so
we feel it will take a generation.
A long-term approach using education. Do those things have an impact? That's what I'm curious about.
I think, first of all, before I mentioned that, is you always, if you're ukichota chai, you can only pour something in a cup. Okay, you need hard. So, like, how do we say that the politicians and everybody else that we're trying to talk to or represent us are bad people, and yet they come from the same fabric that we are in. So how do we say that my politician wabaya, and sisi hapa hivi, when we are given an opportunity, the same space, we'll all do the same thing those guys will do. So let's not just try to say that the politicians are bad, because they are uncles, they are friends, they are everything. So, but what I'm trying to do is that I understand the power of music. And most of us here, the truth of the matter is that mtu kaa kutopizo kasi mziki angekuwa na hivi, unajua? Hii ni mziki, hii ni rapi, H-time, you know. So, but what I'm trying to say, the power of music, when we did, the song was called Utawala. So, and it was done like 5 years ago. Yeah. And everywhere I go in this country, from Garissa to wherever, it resonated with everybody when it comes to the messaging. Because that's what people are going through. So we need to understand, and nashukuru sana, Ambassador, that you understood the power of music and the power of the art and culture and what it can do when it comes to disseminating the message. Because nobody ever remembers a speech, but they'll always remember soma ama ila hivi, sinaona. So but finally what we are doing in our space, we have a space in Dandora, and we have some of the rappers here. What we did before, a month ago, we did a baraza with the chief, with a couple of guys, community leaders, and we had a conversation. So we are doing another one in the next 2 weeks to have this conversation. We are not saying that WhatsApp peke yake, because my bundles saa zingine hazipatika. No, but we have a group of rappers, we have a group of community guys who are just engaging and trying to find a better thing out of their space. So first, but it has to come from a place of us understanding what you want, not the other way around. Because how can you know that you're successful if you don't even know how success is? If you're coming here at the museum, always unaambiwa kuna barabara imepanda hivi, imeingia hivi, ikaingia hivi, si ndio? So when you get to a place where barabara iko hivi na hivi, you know you're there. You know you're there, si ndio? So we first have to define what it means for us. Then whoever comes in our space have to fit.
Okay, so using that theory, is it possible then, Dutch, to have a situation where Kenya 2017, 2022 becomes the US 2008, where young people pull together and put up a candidate of their choice? If we keep saying, yo, there's no one here, can we do it ourselves? Can we come up with someone?
We can. And I think the Constitution allows us to do that, because now we can have independent candidates. So if you cannot be sponsored by a party, you can still go out and do it. So like I said, we have all the tools that we need as young people. And also adding to what Julian is saying, music is an amazing tool, an amazing tool. The 4 minutes you're given on radio, you know, unaweza haribu ama unaweza jenga, si ndio? Because I think we're always accountable to the messages that tunaweka huko mbele. So, and I'm happy that people are thinking of music as one of the ways that tunaweza mobilize young people, because that's what they listen to, si ndio? In our space too, unajua Juliana ameongea juu ya space yake, lazima tujipigie kelele. With Sarabi, we've taken the daily commute, matatus, and we're doing shows inside matatus. Because you have 34 stuck people who don't have anywhere to go, si ndio? See, we suka hapo tunasikiza preachers.
Forced entertainment.
Yeah, but give the right message. You know, because at times our messages are too hard. We know that, and they're gagged, they cannot be played on radio. We need to get this to our people. Sindio, get as many people as possible to listen to our messages. Whatever space you have. Si lazima ulipwe saa zingine, sindio Juliani, najua Nairobi. You don't have to be paid all the time, but you have to use that little space you have to try and communicate to people. And I think by doing that, we'll have America in 2008, sindio, that young people will decide their own future.
So, on that note, I think I'd like to wrap up this conversation by each and every one of you end up, tutamaliza, where? Tutamaliza na Juliani, because he has punchlines, yo.
But
so let's start, let's start with you, Nigeria. If you were to give people something that they can walk away with today, an actionable thing that we can come back here 2 weeks later and say, oh, did you do this? What would it be?
Keep questioning, quick asking, keep engaging. Giuliani was right on the mark again when he said, try find someone who's not of your mwelewani vile. See where they're coming from, why they're a staunch supporter of the opposite side. Engage with them. Find that utu, because at the end of the day, that's what will be used to divide you if you're not careful. Lakini mkijua, there's common ground regardless of who you support, what your ideals are, the route to whatever we want is. If you find that common ground, maybe we'll survive it.
Okay, Dutch?
Let's stop complaining, we take action. With the most, let's change.
In fact, as of 2013, 75% of the Kenyan population was thought to be under the age of 25. So wengine tumekuwa, but there are others who've joined that bracket. Shimano?
Kind of going back to what Juliani had said before about it being us. Tribalism, nepotism, it's not the problem. It's not the problem that's really facing this country. It's us. It's you, me. And talking about music, I will refer to
A new
lyrics.
release,
To lyrics.
exclusive.
To lyrics that really, that really get to me, or that really got to me. This song is called by John Legend for the movie Selma. And it kind of like puts us in perspective of where we are right now as a country. So, hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon, formed against, yes, glory is destined. Every day women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. So one day when glory comes, it'll be ours, it'll be ours. So when I listened to that song, when I watched that movie, that is what got to me, and I was just like, you know what, it's us. You have to change. You have to realize the power that you have in you. So this is it, you show power, yeah? That's it.
Christine?
For me, I would say, as young guys, lazima tujijue, ndio tujijenge. I mean, we need to know what the wealth that we have so we can actually change ourselves. And remember, everything that you are today, where we are as a country, is because of the conscious decisions we've made, both consciously and subconsciously. So when you're doing something, just really think about it seriously. Thanks.
And finally, the man with the lines. Giuliani. I mean, we've really hyped you. You better make us laugh and also give us points kibao.
Okay. So I think for me, the most important thing, and I share this, and that's why napenda kuongelea Octopizzo or anybody in this space, because most of us didn't have anything. Most of us were nothing. The only thing we had was dandora hapo, takataka, huyu jamaa alikuwa na mashante hapo, nyumba za mabati, unaona. And imagine sahi we are sitting here talking to you about something. And I get. So the only thing that flipped was that we realized that actually we have something to offer. It's not the other way around. That when I'm not here because just I know Nani ambassador or because I know everybody. I'm here because I have something to offer. And the day I realized that, I felt freedom. You know? So I think the day each and every individual realize that they have something to offer to themselves, to their family, and to their country, nobody will come and violate that for you. Hakuna mtu atakama kuambia chochote, because you know the value that you hold. You know what you represent. So if you understand what you have to offer, then we find people who actually, we have common things we share when it comes to offering or something. Unaona? When we connect these guys, then we get organized. So we first have to get informed about ourselves, about our surrounding, and then get organized. And then go to the ballot or go wherever to make that change that is necessary. So I think it's possible. We can decide it today. Muki decide today, ama next year, ama 5 years from now, it's your problem. But if you decide today, I guarantee you, your life will never be the same. Octopizzo can attest to that. Me, I can attest to that. This guy can attest to that, because we decided to do something about our situation and where we are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so kama kuna mtu alikuwa anaandika notes, Nigeria says question, always question. Dech says unity in numbers. Chimano is saying stay woke, it's about us. Christine, tujijue, tujijenge. Na Giuliani amesema everyone is worth something. Do we need to say more? Yeah, so tweet it, hashtag is Nisho Power. Thank you so much. The conversation continues. Na mjue MCA wenu ni nani, ndio mwanze kumuuliza maswali.